My client's building burned to the ground. The insurer wasn't going to pay. I warned Frank a dozen times to let me sue. He ignored every single warning. So I did something lawyers are never supposed to do. I sued without instructions, and it saved everything. Let me take you back to the beginning. I was pushing 40, and after more than 10 years of legal practice, I had learned quite a few important lessons. But one of the most valuable lessons I ever received came from an older lawyer I worked for as a summer student after my second year of law school. A lawyer has 3 duties, he told me. First to himself, second to the court, and last, the client. Always make sure you come first and the client comes last. The reason, he explained, was simple. Because clients will throw you under the bus without thinking twice. I should have stayed with that lawyer, but being young and foolish, I moved on. I ended up working downtown, and honestly, I'm still there today. But thankfully, I never forgot that lesson, and many years later, it saved me when a client did exactly what that old lawyer warned me about. My client was a mid-sized company. They owned properties here and there, ran various businesses, nothing flashy, but they had a pretty solid real estate portfolio. Then one day, a building they owned burned completely to the ground. The company wanted to collect on their insurance policy, so they assigned the matter to Frank, a veteran company man who had been around the block more than a few times. Frank was close to 60 and believed he had everything figured out. He made it very clear that he did not need my help with the insurance claim. He had it all under control, he said. Besides, lawyers are expensive, and Frank was the kind of man who took great pride in not paying legal fees. In all the years I dealt with him, he was constantly nickel and diming me every chance he got. The insurer is going to take advantage of you, I told Frank, more than once. I had only found out about the fire by chance, because Frank certainly had not called me. He let it slip during a conversation one day, and from that point on, I kept close tabs on things. I even had to push hard just to get him to send me the proof of loss form so I could make sure he had not made a mess of it. Frank made mistakes often, and I sometimes wondered how he managed to keep his job. Fortunately, the proof of loss form turned out to be acceptable, so that was one less thing to worry about. "You don't know that," Frank said whenever I raised my concerns. I could tell he just wanted to end the conversation and move on. "It is my job to know when insurers are trying to take advantage of my clients," I told him. "They have been stringing you along for months with requests, questions, and paperwork, but they are not going to pay you, not unless you take them to court." But Frank insisted he had it handled and that he and the insurance adjuster had a great working relationship. "The limitation period expires in 2 weeks," I said firmly. "Once that deadline passes, it will be too late to file a lawsuit. The moment that window closes, they will stop returning your calls. You will receive a polite email saying you're out of time, and that will be the end of it. Let me file the lawsuit right now, and we will have your money before you know it." Frank brushed me off as usual and ended the call as quickly as he could. I followed up with a detailed email laying out my warnings and recommendations clearly. He ignored it. I sent it again, then again as the deadline approached, then once more just a couple of days before the cutoff. My final email was direct. "I am heading into a trial and will be unavailable, but you must file this lawsuit. You have other firms on your contact list. Choose one and get it done." He never replied. I went off to handle my trial. The trial ran for a couple of weeks, no word from Frank. Then a full month passed, then another, still nothing. I started to think maybe things had worked out after all. Maybe Frank was right, I told myself. Then my phone rang. It was Frank. "Hey, do you remember that fire insurance situation we discussed?" We had discussed it roughly a dozen times, but I figured he was calling to gloat, so I got straight to the point. "So the insurer paid out. That is great news, Frank. Looks like you were right." He asked me what I was talking about, then requested a copy of the claim. "What claim?" I said. "The lawsuit against the insurer, that claim." "Are you telling me they did not pay?" I asked. He hung up. A few minutes later, an email came through. Frank wrote that he recalled our conversations and believed he had instructed me to file the lawsuit. He said he was concerned because he had never received a copy of the claim, and he was following up to get one. I replied immediately. I take it the insurer denied your claim, just as I warned you they would, and now that the limitation period has expired, they have told you there is nothing to be done, leaving your company with a loss in the millions. Is that correct? This time, I did not stop there. I copied Frank's direct supervisor, his supervisor's boss, and Bill, the company's in-house counsel. Bill acknowledged my email almost immediately and called me later that same day. Frank dropped the ball, Bill said. We know that. He's not being straight with us. So where does that leave us? His version of events didn't hold up. Not even close, Bill explained. They had called Frank into a conference room, but his story fell apart immediately. My emails were right there in black and white, warning after warning after warning. On top of that, there would have been no reason for Frank to continue emailing the insurer directly if he had already passed the matter to legal counsel. Once a file goes to an attorney, the employee's involvement is finished. The company knew Frank was not telling the truth. So that's it, Bill said quietly. We just lost a couple of $1 million? Not exactly, I said. I explained that once I realized Frank was not going to act, I went ahead and filed a claim against the insurer myself. Because I had insisted on receiving the proof of loss form earlier, I had enough information to file a lawsuit and preserve the company's legal rights. It wasn't a detailed or polished claim by any means, but it was solid enough to hold everything in place. You filed without instructions? Bill said, clearly surprised. Filing a lawsuit without client instructions is a serious matter in the legal profession. If you do it and things go wrong, you can be held personally responsible for the other side's legal costs. It's not something any attorney takes lightly. That is correct, I said. I filed without instructions. I pulled up the claim on my screen and emailed it to him while we were still on the phone. It's a bit basic, I said, but we can refine it as we move forward. Thank God for that, Bill said with relief. Can I leave everything in your hands? Of course he could. The insurer had no real defense, and I was confident we would recover the full amount without much difficulty. A few days later, I received a call from another employee at the company, someone I hadn't spoken with before. I usually work with Frank, I said. What can I do for you? What he told me was this. Frank had been called into another meeting. They handed him a single sheet of paper. He packed his personal belongings into a small box, and then a security officer walked him past his colleagues, down to the elevator, and out to the parking lot. Just like that, Frank was gone. He was at an age where finding another comparable position wouldn't be easy. For Frank, it was a life-changing moment. For me, he became a cautionary tale, one I find myself sharing with younger attorneys over drinks, probably more often than I should. But when you get to a certain age, you have your favorite stories, and this one has always stuck with me. I'll be honest with you, I wasn't trying to get back at Frank. I would have felt some sympathy for him if he hadn't spent so much energy trying to make me the scapegoat. But the person who stepped into his role turned out to be a pleasure to work with, straightforward, fair, and never looking for ways to cut corners on legal fees. So in the end, everything worked out just fine. Was justice truly served here? Frank ignored every warning, tried to shift the blame onto someone else, and paid a very steep price for it. The lawyer protected himself, saved his client millions, and came out on top. But was this outcome fair, or did it go a step too far? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. I read every single one, and I'd love to hear where you stand on this one.